India have made it to the Super 4, and now it boils down to the 4 best teams in Asia: India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka and Bangladesh. Yes, as India celebrates its big win over Pakistan, it is with a touch of remembrance. Yes, this is a news on women's cricket. It is with touch of remembrance that we remember Surekha Bhandare, the Mumbai all-rounder who passed away yesterday after a prolonged illness. However, the show must go on. And coming back to Asia Cup, now India faces the 3 best teams in Asia before hosting the ODI World Cup. While the utter demolition of Pakistan gives us some semblance of hope, can India go all the way and claim the Asia Cup before the World Cup rolls around? Well, joining me, there are 2 important guests right now. We're not only talking about the Asia Cup, we're also keeping an eye on what happened last night at London, where Ben Stokes, after the retirement, comes back and smashes 182, and I think he's in a good form. So joining us in the studio is James Knights, who's a cricket analyst and a podcaster. Also, we have joining us is Christopher Mofofu, the Zimbabwean cricketer who's been keeping a close eye on India, Pakistan and the Asia Cup. Well, thank you, Christopher, joining us live from Bulawayo. It's early morning there. Chris, I just want to ask you, how is the Indian team looking now, considering that they have faced most lethal Pakistan fast bowling battery? Your views?
Yeah, like you ask how India, are gelling up after, facing all the fiery Pakistan bowlers. I think at the moment, when we started, I say that, Pakistan had the better bowling side. Yes. To start off that tournament. But you look at how India have actually balanced that attack. I had talked about Bumrah playing a key role coming from an injury, and it's amazing to see him back bowling at over 90 miles an hour, and the way these their bowlers are complementing each other. It's been absolutely amazing. Having a guy like Shardul Thakur, he comes in first change or second change. He's been swinging the ball, doing quite well for them. And we've got Hardik Pandya on the other. For me, I think India at the moment, they have a balanced side. You talk about their batting, the big guns coming out to the party and, doing very well for them. So for me, I think at the moment, they are the team to beat, not only in this Asia Cup, but, the World Cup, coming up around the corner. I definitely think India are the team that we have to watch out for.
Well, the home conditions definitely favor the Indian batters, bowlers and the mindset of the Indian team. However, are you happy, Chris, with the way India has batted or with the bowling? What's been your opinion when you've watched them in the last fortnight? Your views?
I'm certainly happy with the Indian batting and the bowling at the moment. The way they're complementing each other. As I said, they have these 2 or 3 all-rounders who are doing very well. Look at Shardul Thakur, you look at Hardik Pandya, you've got Jadeja. These guys have been absolutely marvelous for India. And then you look at the top order, Rohit Sharma, getting to 10,000 runs in ODI is just an amazing fit. And seeing Virat Kohli coming back into the, into the fold and scoring runs as he normally does. And there's one person that is an unsung hero, but I felt Kuldeep Yadav, he's been one of those guys that people haven't said a lot about him, but he has bowled absolutely brilliant for India. So I would say that they have gelled together. They have got an all-round performance as a team. And even when they were defending a small score against Sri Lanka the last game, I felt like you could tell that they were not going to lose that game the way they came hard at Sri Lanka.
Well, Christopher, we were there at the qualifiers and you saw Sri Lanka in Zimbabwe, especially the Bulawayo game. Is it the team to watch out for the World Cup, considering that they've been taking consistently in the last 14 games all the 10 wickets of their opponents? Do you think it's a good sign?
Yeah, you talk about Sri Lanka. I saw them play in Bulawayo. Yes, they came for qualifiers, but I felt like the statement that they sent, in that tournament, for the qualifiers. I told someone that Sri Lanka are always those dark horses that will come into a tournament and do the right things and definitely do well. So I know, and at the moment they're short of few players, but with with the players that they have at the moment, they're still, putting that those performances. So I'll still see Sri Lanka being one of those teams that, to reach the semi-finals, and I believe they are the right team at the moment for those conditions. Playing in Asia, I definitely think they will definitely do well. So I still give them, the props to do well and make the semi-finals.
Well, thank you, Christopher. I'll come back to you in a moment. Now we have a podcaster who's been keeping a close eye on the happenings in the world of cricket. James Knights. James, you've been here for some time. You've watched how India has batted, bowled and fielded. What is your view and your opinion on the way things have panned out, especially in the last 15 days for India? James.
Sunil, good morning. And first, I think so far, for India, it's going rather well. I think their performance against Sri Lanka the other day was absolutely sensational, especially because they had to go for 2 days and they had to use their reserve day also. Playing 3 days in a row, I think that's an incredible feat, and it just shows that their fitness and their togetherness as a unit, it's really working at the minute, and I think they stand a real good chance this World Cup.
Well, absolutely. Well, talking about the World Cup, we have the England team, and they haven't been doing badly enough. Last night, we saw sensational innings by Ben Stokes, who comes back after retirement. Are you a big fan of Ben Stokes and the retirement procedure?
The retirement procedure, not so much. However, I want to focus on the positives. He came back after retirement and scored 182, striking at 146. That is a sensational feat. To break a record, come back after retirement, score 182. I think England won by around that margin as well. So he really was part of that difference. He's an amazing player. He really is a gift to us at the moment. Certainly one of the best batsmen that I've seen in my generation. Right. I just hope that he can continue this form into the World Cup.
Absolutely. We are all looking at the World Cup, and this entire fortnight and the last 3 weeks have been going and talking about the surround sound is about the World Cup. Do you think England, after playing the hundreds, the T20s and some inconsequential games around, are they in the right frame of mind taking to the World Cup preparation? Your views, James?
Well, let's hope so. I mean, if they can take the form that they are picking up now against the New Zealand team, right, then they certainly stand a chance in the World Cup. However, I mean, the dressing room at the minute, it does seem very, very well together. Once the new regime came in, especially with the Test side, with Brendan McCullum coming in, the team seem really together. You see them on the field, the way they're carrying themselves. I'm really looking forward to it, and I think that they're going to handle it well, and we have a very good backroom staff for England as well. We should do all right.
Well, it's not about just Ben Stokes. We're talking about the batting lineup. We had an interesting stats, and if you want to take us through the top order, how they have scored and what makes them so comfortable and confident.
Yeah, so I did a bit of research yesterday, and I found out that the top 10 players for England yesterday, all of them had registered scores of 90 plus. Now, the only 3 players that haven't registered a score of 100, haven't scored a ton, is Liam Livingstone, Wokes and Curran, but their scores are respectively 95.
That's good.
As an incredible, to have a batting order and to have a team where everyone is capable of swinging the bat, hitting the boundaries, keeping up with the strike rate. It's an amazing feat, and it's a superb luxury to have for the selectors and for Jos Buttler as captain.
Well, absolutely. Jos Buttler did prove his mettle yesterday behind the stumps and with the gloves. Your views?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think Jos Buttler is an amazing keeper. He's not as good as my favourite keeper, Mohammad Rizwan. I really like him. I really like Mohammad Rizwan. But I think Buttler, if he wanted to, maybe he would stand a chance at coming back into the Test team if he wanted to, because obviously Bairstow, there is some issues around his fitness and everything like that. But Bairstow should be in on his batting alone for sure. But Buttler, he's sharp behind the stumps. He's happy to take stumpings. He doesn't drop many. he's a sensational player and a true asset to the England team.
Well, absolutely. Playing in England is a different ballgame altogether when you travel all the way, thousands of kilometers here in India. Fans want to know, just one interesting point, is that do you think the humid, the hot conditions, which you've been complaining here for some time, will it get on to the players? Because what you see in the Asia Cup, there have been cramps, there have been injury delays, and there's a lot of sweating. Do you think England is coping up to that?
Again, I think that with the backroom staff that England have, I think we do stand a chance. You know, we have an outstanding medical team, outstanding doctors and physiotherapists, our dietitians, nutritionists. They have an excellent backroom staff. I feel like England will manage pretty well. It's more about handling the ball, looking after the ball. Obviously, in the evening games when it's under floodlights, the ball, you know, it can absorb the dew and it gets a little bit wet, a little bit harder to bowl, sometimes harder to field. It skips across the ground. Sometimes it's a little bit more difficult when it's coming onto the bat. However, I think that all of the experience that the majority of the England team have playing in all of these tournaments all around the world, mostly franchise cricket, they are, you know, there's not that many spring chickens in that England team anymore. Most of them, you know, touching 30, if not over 30. So, you know, they're all well equipped for the World Cup, I think, and many of them have played in India before. Many of them have played subcontinent cricket in, you know, testing conditions, as you mentioned, the heat and obviously the humidity, the dew, handling the ball, the lateral movement of the ball as well. I think they'll stand up tall and hopefully they'll do us proud.
Well, we've spoken about the batting, the physical conditions, and how the backroom staff is done. James, just reflect a little bit on our bowling side as well, the English bowling side.
Well, I mean, so we've started to use Topley and Wokes. With the new ball yesterday, they were absolutely fantastic. You know, it was nipping around, they got some movement, and that's really what we want to see. You know, we want to see that, and we want to see dot balls being bowled. Dot balls in limited overs cricket is absolutely gold. You know, it's very good currency for bowlers when they're bowling dot balls.
Well, talking about dot ball, we've got about stats about Trent Bolt. He was devastating yesterday. And so he was in his career. Do you want to throw some light on Trent Bolt?
Absolutely. Trent Bolt, I mean, I've always been a massive fan of Trent Bolt, and he took a 5 for yesterday. So a little bit of an unsung hero, of course, because New Zealand did fall to a defeat. However, Trent Bolt, what a player, what an operator. He's come back into the side as well after a break from ODI cricket. And, you know, I'm really looking forward to watch him play, because what he can do with the ball, he is really one of the world's best. A seasoned professional, you know, he takes wickets absolutely everywhere he goes. He's travelled the world over, playing cricket, taking wickets for New Zealand, winning games for New Zealand, and he's no mug with the bat as well. You know, he can bat too, but in terms of his bowling capabilities, he is top notch.
Absolutely, and about the dot balls, that he's got a phenomenal record when it comes to it. He may not take wickets as often as he would, but he contains and controls the match, and that's what we saw yesterday. Now we shift our focus back to the Asia Cup. Christopher, if you can hear us, I'd like to know who gets in today's in this week's final. Who's your favorite? Let's look at the Pakistan, Sri Lanka and the Bangladesh. Let's find out what you have in mind.
Yeah, for this Asia Cup, it's a tricky question. You say Sri Lanka or Pakistan, but I like I said, I see Sri Lanka being that team that is going to do well, not only in this tournament but also the World Cup, as I've said it. So I'll still give props to Sri Lanka to pull through and play India in this final. So it's gonna be a good one, and I'll still back India to win this tournament. That's, you know, a little bit biased on my side, but, you know, I've always been a fan of India, so I believe India is going to pull this through.
Well, interestingly, Christopher says that it's going to be Sri Lanka. Well, we all watched them play at the qualifiers. James, I'm going to put a last or a couple of other fan questions to you. What makes Sri Lanka so good, especially when they don't have big stars? They don't have stuff.
I think Sri Lanka are I think they're a great unit. I think with Silverwood as the coach as well, I think he's doing a good job. Obviously, they're lacking a little bit of firepower with the bat. However, I think in their last 14 games, they've managed to bowl out the opposition, and that's not easy. to bowl out the opposition, 14 times, it's amazing. They've come across some really good operators, some really good cricketers, and they're coming up against some amazing batting sides. And I think that Sri Lanka, I think they might upset some Bangladesh fans.
Well, Bangladesh fans are next level. But sticking our focus, do you think if you don't have the big match winners and the big names like we had in the World Cup, do you think that takes the pressure off the team, considering that you don't have to go back with those names? Your views, James? Yeah,
I mean, the fact that they're not as seasoned as some of the players, because obviously they have suffered from some injuries and they are missing some frontline bowlers. But I think that their spin attack is absolutely sensational. You've got the Theekshana. I think he comes in and he bowls it quick, hard. He hits the deck. I think he's a great bowler. But I think that Sri Lanka, really, what they need to do, they need to find something in with their batting. They need runs. The wickets are not a problem. As a fielding unit, as a bowling unit, they're excellent. It's more the batting where they need.
Well, we also have an Englishman who's coaching this the Sri Lankan team, and he's a fast bowler, Chris Silverwood, and he's been sensational. He was a part of the 2005 Ashes victory team, and he's got a point to prove, considering he was sacked by the English board after the drubbing defeat of 4-0 against Australia in 2019. James, does he have a point to prove, considering he's taken a tumultuous time in the Sri Lankan cricket team? Your views?
I think for Chris, I think he's more focused on building a team and making sure that they're having like a positive experience out there on the pitch. There's a lot of new players there. There's a lot of players that, haven't necessarily played as many international games as others. So I think for him, he does have a point to prove. He wants to prove that, he can amalgamate and can bring together a team that can work together and hopefully win games.
Well, of course, Sri Lanka is going there. But once you reflect back on the opposition, which is India, they've batted well against the seam swing and the ball hitting the deck at 150 degree radar, and also on the spin part of the Sri Lankan cricket team. Now I want to ask you, do you think Indians with their spinners like Kuldeep Yadav is not mentioned as much as one should? Do you think he's doing a good job with the ball?
Well, Kuldeep Yadav at the moment, his last game he was in fine form, absolutely fine form. I think that obviously because there are quite a lot of seasoned pros there, as you said earlier on, Bumrah's come back, and Bumrah is an absolutely sensational operator as well. He's a great bowler. But I think that because there are so many big names in that England team, some players are sometimes squeezed out of the media. Sometimes players, are squeezed out of the actual limelight, but he certainly has something to prove as well. With the pool of players that India have, it's so hard to break into that team and keep your place in that team. But Kuldeep Yadav is certainly one to watch going forward.
Well, we just go in for our last question, which is a fan question. James, what do you think, considering India plays Sri Lanka? It's a hypothetical question, but we'll still take it because it's from a fan. Sri Lanka and India plays the final. Who do you think will get ahead? Do you think India will do the crossing, will cross the line, or Sri Lanka? Considering they're playing in home, they've got their fan, everything, and they know the condition. Your views, final, and then we wrap up the program.
I think that the quality that the Indian side have, I think it will be tough to say that Sri Lanka are going to come out and knock them over they'll need to knock them over for under 200, and with operators like Kohli, he operates at such a level, one of the best batsmen that I've seen, certainly. I just can't see Sri Lanka getting the runs. I can see if India win the toss, they'll stick them in, bowl them out for under 200, maybe even 160, 175, and then they'll just come out and knock it off in 30 overs. But let's see, hopefully it's not rain delayed, hopefully it's not, hopefully that isn't a factor, and let's hope for a good game and hopefully a competitive match.
Well, India it is for James and for Christopher, but that's all we had time for. Keep watching NewsX.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.